We're talking Dynasty ADP on today's episode of Locked On Dynasty.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Matt Williamson and Ryan McDowell.
Welcome to the Locked On Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan McDowell. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanMC23. Joining me, as always, is Matt Williamson. Find Matt on Twitter at WilliamsonNFL. Matt, how's it going?
Things are good. How about you?
Things are good here as well. We've kind of been talking Dynasty offseason for a couple weeks now, really, but it's now officially here. The NFL regular season is in the books. We'll talk playoffs and have the playoffs coming up, but it's certainly the Dynasty offseason, and we're going to be jumping right into that. Before we do that, though, I need to tell you that today's episode of Locked On Dynasty is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick between 2 and 5 players. If they score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Matt, I hinted at this last week, but as we always try to do once a month, we are talking brand new Dynasty ADP today. We do have that January ADP, and it's really, I think it's noteworthy because it's the beginning of the offseason. I had a lot of people asking if the rookies were in this ADP now that we're into the offseason. No rookies yet. That will be next month when we're back here a month from now in February looking at that ADP. Actually, a little over a month. We'll wait till post Super Bowl for that data. But Bijan Robinson, Bryce Young, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, Jahmyr Gibbs, Michael Mayer, they will all be in this ADP, and we'll be saying many of those names. But today we are going to focus on the top 10 quarterbacks and running backs in January DLF Dynasty ADP. We'll do the same thing tomorrow with our receivers and the tight ends. And Matt, I've got a little surprise for you. We're going to mix it up this time. You might be, pulling back the curtain, as you like to say, Matt. You might be checking out that agenda that we share, and there's not a lot there. That's because this time you're going to play a little guessing game. You're going to try to figure out who those top 10 quarterbacks and top 10 running backs are. And if you do a good job, we'll do the same thing tomorrow with those pass catchers. So let's jump right in. Enough talk about that. The top 10 Dynasty quarterbacks, according to DLF Dynasty ADP from January. No pressure to guess them in order, but that would obviously be more impressive if you were able to do that. So let's get started, Matt. Who are those top 10 quarterbacks?
Well, I'm going to do my best to get them in order. I don't feel particularly strong that I will do that, obviously. I think Allen's probably one.
Okay, Josh Allen is the QB1 still in Dynasty. He is I believe he's a third rounder. Yeah, third rounder in our ADP. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that, but I'll let you throw out a couple more names that you might be confident with.
Okay. I'm going to do my best to get these in order. I'm not even looking at anything, to be honest with you. I'm looking at your smiling face. So these are just really off the top of my head.
That's the way I like it.
Yeah. And so it's going to be harder at other positions, but Mahomes, I'm guessing, is 2.
You got it. Mahomes is 2. I do want to stop you there. Mahomes, Josh Allen, is a third rounder in this data. We do have spoiler alert for you, Matt. We've got a little bit of a gap between Allen, Mahomes, and the rest of the quarterbacks drafted here. I've seen some conversation from one of our buddies, Adam Harstad, on Twitter lately, as we've been talking ADP and dynasty value and all those conversations that are kind of never ending. And he's really made a point lately to say that Mahomes and Allen, but especially Mahomes, should really be valued in the first round of dynasty startups, even those one quarterback leagues that we're talking about. And we've made the point on here many times that the depth of the position allows you to wait a little bit longer. Maybe there's not much of a gap between QB2 and QB5 or 6 or 7. Do you think that's starting to change though? And that Allen and Mahomes especially are good enough. They have the longevity. They're putting up points on a weekly basis, knock on wood. They both seem to stay healthy year in and year out. Are these guys as third rounders too cheap?
It's interesting because I probably told this story on Locked On Dynasty and Dynasty Blueprint, 5 or 10 times. But like when I was exposed to Dynasty for the first time, I very much thought, well, why don't I just draft Andrew Luck first overall in a startup and play him for 10 years because he's going to be great forever. And, bad example because he quit. But you get the point.
Sure.
And at that point, I was quickly convinced that, hey, just take Kirk Cousins in the 5th round. It's not that big a gap. Okay, I'm a believer in that. That's how I was brought up in Dynasty. I still believe that. But there's obviously a correlation with Dynasty and redraft. And I'm thinking next year in redraft, I might take Josh Allen like 5th overall. So if I'm willing to do that, which I never do in redraft, why shouldn't I do the same in Dynasty? And here's a crazy stat that's sort of related, but when you look at the AFC playoff teams, Pat Mahomes is the oldest quarterback starting the playoffs in the AFC.
Yeah, that's wild.
And it just reflects that these guys still might not even hit their stride. Any of them, the Herberts and Burrows and all these guys. So I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I did a Dynasty startup last year and took Najee Harris as a homer at 7th or 8th overall. Wouldn't you much rather have Josh Allen?
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, looking at some of these names, we don't want to spoil the rest of the game, but I mean, Deebo Samuel, DeAndre Swift, Drake London, those guys are all being drafted ahead of these elite difference-making quarterbacks. Right. And yeah, I mean, in my rankings, I do have these guys down in that 3rd round range, but maybe it's just because Adam's able to convince me and persuade me on almost anything fantasy football related, but I think he makes a pretty good point. Yeah. All right.
We're setting our ways as old Dynasty folks,
That is true. That is true. Matt, you have guessed quarterback 1 and quarterback 2, Allen and Mahomes. We are going to continue the guessing game and the quarterback ADP right after this break.
Okay, I have told you guys about Prize Picks many times, and I am a big fan. The playoff games will be wonderful for Prize Picks. You got all these standalone games. And I've told you before, what I like most about it is it's just me versus a number. Do I think Pat Mahomes is going to throw for over 300 yards or not? Yes or no? I mean, it's that simple. I'm not playing against a bunch of people that might get lucky and beat me. It's just me versus my, these projections. So what you do is you pick between 2 and 5 players. And will they go score more or less than their Prize Picks projections? And if you hit big, you can win up to 10 times your money. There's no competing against other people, as I mentioned. And it's not just NFL. I mean, it's NBA, it's Major League Baseball, of course, but it's women's college basketball, it's soccer, it's tennis, it's disc golf, it's cricket. It's anything you can think of. So entries are super quick, 60 seconds or less. Safe and fast withdrawals, of course. Right now, they're operational in 30 states as well as Canada. So here's what I need you to do. Download the Prize Pick app or go to prizepicks.com and sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with our promo code LOCKEDON, all one word. So if you put in $100, Prize Picks give you $100. If you put $2 in, Prize Picks gives you $2. So don't forget to enter the promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Also want to tell you about TurboTax. So go to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. There's nothing I hate more than taxes. Ugh. Meet with an expert who will do them for you. TurboTax experts can relieve you from the stress of taxes and file for you so you can do not taxes. Just do anything but not taxes. So go to TurboTax. Show your eyes things that are not taxes. Unpack a moving box that is not taxes. Taste things that aren't taxes. Sing songs that don't have anything to do with taxes. Hope not taxes sleep through the night. grab a saddle and ride, not taxes into the sunset. You get my drift here, right? With TurboTax, an expert will do your taxes from start to finish, ensuring your taxes are done right and guaranteed so you can relax. Feels good to be done with your taxes, doesn't it? So come to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. Intuit TurboTax, full service products only. Video meetings while expert does your taxes required. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Thanks again for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. Subscribe to the Locked On NFL podcast to get daily conversations on the biggest NFL stories, plus in-depth analysis on the biggest games with NFL key predictions every Friday. And Monday, local insiders cover the weekend with game-to-game episodes. Locked On NFL, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. All right, Matt, let's keep going with this quarterback ADP. We've got to pick it up a little bit. Allen and Mahomes, you got the two easy ones. What other quarterbacks are in the top 10?
Hurts
is 3. You're 3 for 3 here.
Burrow and Herbert. I know they're in the top 10, but am I still...
in that exact order? Burrow up to quarterback 4, which is noteworthy. That's the highest he has ever been.
Okay.
He has jumped ahead of Justin Herbert, who is quarterback 5.
I'm guessing Fields is next over Kyler.
You're kind of on the right track. Fields is 7. So you've got 5. Fields is your 6th, but he is quarterback 7. So somebody is ahead of him, but it's not Kyler Murray.
Is it Lamar?
It is not. Lamar, since you threw that name out, I will give you Lamar Jackson is quarterback 8. You're still missing the 6th one.
Okay, I'm sure it's obvious, and I'm trying to scan divisions. Is it Lawrence already?
It is Trevor Lawrence.
Wow, okay.
Quarterback 6. And notice you mentioned that name, Kyler Murray. I didn't tell you what his rank was because he's not in the top 10.
Really?
Not
wow,
a top
mighty
10.
have fallen.
That's right. I'm concerned about the injury, concerned about the system.
Sure.
The coach is out. The GM is out. We saw a report today that potentially soon DeAndre Hopkins will be out, that the Cardinals are going to look to trade him. So major shakeup in Arizona, and it's not all going to be good for Kyler Murray.
Okay. So how many
two
of the 10
two guys left? You've got the top 8 so far. So 2 left. Kyler Murray is not in that group.
I don't feel confident about these 2, but my last choices are going to be Dak and Tua.
You should be confident. Those are the 2.
Okay.
That is the order. Quarterback 9 is Dak Prescott. Quarterback 10 is Tua Tagovailoa. We already talked about Kyler not being on the list. I think the other noteworthy player that's not in the top 10 is Deshaun Watson. And of course he gave us plenty of reason not to be among those top 10. A big shakeup here. I already talked about Burrow making the leap up to quarterback 4. Jackson has fallen down to quarterback 8. Of course, that's injury related, performance related as well. Was not great those last few games that he was on the field. And then Kyler Murray off the list. Matt, let's move over to the running back position.
I think I'd have Kyler higher than those last 2, though.
I still would as well.
Okay.
I actually still would as well. Let's move over to the running backs. Do the same thing. We'll see if you can be have as much success with the running backs as you did those signal callers.
Well, Jonathan Taylor is going to be right at the top. I mean,
he is RB1 still. Yes.
Okay. I can throw names out and cheat, but I think I should try to look at it a little more in terms of who's definitely near the top.
Okay.
McCaffrey's still going to be really high.
He's very high. He is still the running back 2.
Okay.
So he's the running back 2. He is a first rounder. In fact, I don't know if this helps you any. We have 4. We have 4 running backs in the first round. You, of course, have named 2 of them, Taylor and McCaffrey, 2 other first rounders at the running back position.
Okay. Since there are 2, I'm going to lump them together. I think it's Hall and then Walker.
You got them, both first rounders. Hall is RB3. Walker is RB4. 8 and 9 overall. And again, Bijan Robinson not on this list yet. He certainly will be this time next month, and probably up here in this mix with these top 3 or 4 running backs, if not higher. Matt, when we come back, we're going to finish the list. You have 6 running backs left. We'll see if you can come up with all of them.
I'm betting I don't, but
speaking of betting.
Yeah. Well, how about that? That just worked out so perfectly. And I just placed a bet on betonline.net last night, or 2 nights ago, I guess it was, with the Georgia Bulldogs winning big. That worked out great for me and wasn't even close. So BetOnline is your number 1 sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis site out there. They get the latest odds and trends, every professional and amateur league out there, pro football, college bowl season, as I just mentioned, basketball. I mean, everything you can imagine is there at betonline.net. And I'm sure you're a podcast fan. Check out Peacock and Williamson, by the way. You can also find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, where the game starts.
All right, Matt, you've guessed the top 4 running backs. You've done it in order. Again, we're looking at January DLF Dynasty ADP, our first ADP of the offseason. And Matt's playing a little guessing game to try to figure out the identity of these players. Top 4, Taylor, McCaffrey, Hall, and Walker. Who are the next 6 running backs, and how well can you do here, Matt?
I know Barkley's going to be in there. I'm guessing he's 5.
You are correct. Saquon Barkley is RB5. Okay. I would, you're doing so well, I would accuse you of cheating, but this data is here on my computer in front of me. It's not even on DLF yet. I haven't tweeted it. I'm impressed. You're doing well.
Who? I will say the only thing I did is I brought up every team just so I can scan them and I don't forget them. I mean, that's my cheating over here. But I have 2 more names that I think are definitely in the top 10. I'm guessing they're lower than this, but they're 2 guys I'm really high on. Ramondre, who we talked about recently, and Etienne.
Well, you went 1 for 2. Travis Etienne is the RB6, so he's the next guy in line. Okay. Matt, I was surprised. Ramondre Stevenson is not on the list. He is not among the top 10 dynasty running backs, at least according to this data. My personal rankings would disagree. I would have him up there, but the community, at least this month, did not. So Stevenson is your first on that. Your first big red X. Did not get that one right. Who else could be on the list? You got 4 guys left.
I'm guessing Ekeler still is.
Austin Ekeler is RB7.
Okay.
So you still have them in order. Again, that's Taylor, McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Walker, Barkley, Etienne, and Ekeler. Those are your top 7 dynasty running backs for January.
I'm feeling pretty good about Josh Jacobs.
Okay, Jacobs, you didn't get the order quite right, but Jacobs is on the list. He is RB10 this month.
I would say Javonte Williams is still in that mix.
He's not there either. He's actually he's a 4th rounder. Stevenson, by the way, also a 4th rounder. So kind of in the same value range are those 2.
Okay. I'm thinking Kamara and Cook should not be.
They're not.
Good. I guess Chubb should be or close.
He's not there. He's actually right behind Josh Jacobs, 1 spot behind Jacobs. So Chubb is the RB11, but he's not on this top 10 list. I will say both of these names were surprising to me, especially
There's
one
a
of
name
them.
I've been avoiding because I don't think he belongs, but he's consistently high on these when we do it, and that's Swift.
Swift is there. He is RB9.
I think I'm out on Swift, which hurts my soul.
Yeah, I'm not all the way out, but Stevenson I want over him. I don't want to give you too many names that you haven't mentioned yet, but yeah, he would certainly be lower on my list. This RB8, this is the last guy.
I think I know who it is. It's the big guy in Tennessee, I'm sure, huh?
It's not. I'm going to have to give it to you because
I think you're going to. I'm just going to keep guessing and guessing here.
It's Najee Harris. Najee Harris is back.
He's come on pretty strong.
Back among the top 10 running backs. Specifically, he is RB8.
You had to give me the Steeler. What is wrong with the world?
I was shocked. Well, we saw a huge fall for Najee Harris after the way he started the season. I mean, he wasn't even a weekly fantasy starter. He had kind of fallen out of favor across the board, was not producing. Ended up, I believe, as a third or fourth rounder in our ADP, maybe even lower than that, and was certainly outside of that RB1 range. And then kind of started heating up there as the season went along. Started playing much better. I do not agree with this value, though. I mean, RB8, too high for me. Above Jacobs, above Stevenson, above Nick Chubb, Mixon, Henry, Tony Pollard, Javonte. Harris would still be below.
Doesn't sound like he's in your top 15.
He's not. And then, again, next month we're adding Bijan Robinson. We're adding Gibbs. I can already tell you without knowing landing spot or anything that those two for sure are going to be above Najee Harris. He may not be a top 20 running back for me. All the same concerns that I had when he was a first rounder last offseason are still there. I really liked him when he was that third, fourth, fifth rounder, wherever he kind of bottomed out in ADP. Mm-hmm. That's when I started liking him as a value, maybe talking myself into him as a trade target. But if this is really reflective of where his value is, I'm out again. He's not a top 10 dynasty running back, in my opinion.
Trust me, I've watched every snap of him, of course, and he would not be a top 10 for me. Didn't really cross my mind, which is mind-boggling considering he's a Steeler. I just didn't think he'd be close to getting this type of respect. But it was pretty darn good the second half of the Steelers season. Their last 9 games, he averaged like 84 yards a game, give or take. I mean, it's pretty good.
Absolutely. Certainly much better. Let's go over these lists one more time. You did a great job, Matt. We're going to run it back tomorrow, and maybe now that you know the game, you might be able to study these pass catchers a little bit, but we'll see how you do that on that one. Quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa. The notable names not on that list, of course, are or starts with Kyler Murray. And for me, that's really the big surprise that he's not there among those top 10 quarterbacks. Any major takeaways from you outside of Kyler Murray on the quarterbacks, Matt?
Not so much. I mean, I thought those were a reasonably easy exercise, especially at the top, and it's standalone position, and it doesn't change as much, week to week. So that doesn't boggle my mind.
And the running backs: Taylor, McCaffrey, Hall, and Walker, Barkley, Etienne, Eckler, Najee Harris at RB8, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs. That's your order for this month's running backs. We're going to do this again, Matt. You're going to guess those wide receivers and tight ends.
Tight ends is going to be hairy.
Oh, my gosh.
Maybe I'll make you guess them.
I've got the names in front of me, and I'm still not sure I could bring myself to say some of these names. It'll be rough, but we'll get through it. That is it for today's show, though. Please make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Please remember to follow the show at Locked On Dynasty. Follow Matt at Williamson NFL, and I'm Ryan MC23. We'll be back next time with more Locked On Dynasty.